Oh, oh. That's not how that goes.
Nope, it's not
I
how it
skipped
goes.
something. I missed something. I even listened to it because I just got nervous.
See,
Hang
I
on.
have it in my mind. I can do it.
I do too, but then I just like freaked out because
I'm leaving this in so our listeners can know that you screwed up.
here we go. Oh, oh. Gosh, I did this in a test. I did it in a test and it was perfect beforehand.
You gotta hold the
Sure.
first note out longer. It's oh, and then it goes up the next loud.
You know what? This is the gag. This is it. That's it. We're starting the episode. Cue the music. Hey everyone, welcome back to TV Guys, the show that stunts on other podcasts but doesn't have the courtesy to teabag them. I'm Matt.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Andrew.
And that's right. We have another longtime listener, first-time caller, our good buddy Andrew. He is family to both of us, not by blood on either side, but still, he's family. And so we get to have a longtime Halo expert, Andrew, joining us. Andrew, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what are some of your favorite TV shows so we can get a feel for what you like?
Yeah, so my favorite TV shows, top of the list is definitely The Office. That's been one of my favorites for as long as I can remember. I used to watch it when it came out. I got the DVDs back when that was a thing.
Still is.
For our
still
younger
have the
listeners, DVDs are hard copies of streaming material.
Since it's not on Netflix anymore,
It's on
my
Peacock.
wife actually bought me all 9 seasons on DVD. So that's actually what
Nice.
we're watching right now.
Nice.
Other than that, the other shows I'm into, Survivor's a big thing that I grew up watching and still watch with my wife.
And sometimes I come
Brian.
over to watch.
Yeah.
Aw.
And then
Have you
I think
ever
another show-
voted? Have you ever voted Brian out of your house when he showed up?
no, I have not. But
That's
I
a
did
missed
do
opportunity.
Survivor. So I was a resident advisor in college of a floor, and we actually did Survivor on the floor at different challenges for like a few weeks.
Nice.
How'd
That
you
was
last?
pretty fun.
How'd you last?
I did pretty decent, but I got too complacent towards the end, and my 2 alliance people voted me out
What?
right at the end.
What
and
jerks?
It was fine.
I remember when I was in like high school when like Survivor was in its like 3rd or 4th season or something like that. And there was, I don't
That's
even know
old.
how I found it, but there was like these online communities that you could like play an online version of Survivor.
I remember
And so
that.
you, like log in on MSN Messenger for the challenges and stuff like that. And I was like just a little kid, so I was like, "Oh, I'm going to be so smart and outsmart everyone." And I was just like promising, like, "Oh, you and me, buddy, we're going to make it." And it's just like I said that to everyone. And so the members of my own tribe, they had the majority when we went into the merge. And once that they could vote me out without any repercussions to their alliance, they did. And I
That's a
didn't
quick way
see
to
it
get voted
coming at
out.
all. Yeah.
Mhm.
I was just like, what? I thought we were friends.
No, so I actually just today, when I was working out, I pulled up Survivor All Stars and I started watching. That's one of my favorite seasons.
Nice.
I should also say that, so Andrew, I don't know if you remember this, last time that I played through the entire campaign of Halo 1 was with Andrew, way back when you were in your apartment. Back when we lived in the same apartment building, you lived up a floor from me. I think we did it all in 2 shots. It was like 2 days. We went through the whole
Mhm.
campaign. And then we started Halo
Nice.
2. We never finished it.
All right, gents, what is the best Halo game? 1, 2, 3, ODST, Reach, whatever. What's the top?
I'm biased. I haven't played all of them. I think I've only
We're
played
all
once.
biased. That's the point of this question. What's your bias?
Halo 1, the original one, by far. Like you could get rid of all the other Halos and just give me Halo 1 and I would be happy.
What about you, Andrew?
I would say Halo 3. That's where I started gaming for the most part was Halo 3.
I'm not just saying this, but mine is Halo 2. Like, that's really funny. We got it. And those are the three best. Come on, like, let's be for real. Those are the best. Reach was pretty good. ODST was like, but 2 was the best to me.
I think it's not a very. So I don't know how you feel about this, Andrew, but we feel about this. I've talked to Matt. The game is much better than the show, I think.
For sure.
Did we introduce that we're talking about Halo?
Oh no, we didn't.
The title of this episode is Halo, so hopefully, and from the botched intro that we had, I swear I know this song. I swear it's like on repeat in my head. I promise you, but I just got stage fright, so there's that. It happens even to us. Perfect, amazing, awesome, good-looking, smart people like Andrew. It happens.
It does.
And so what does a schlub like me, how do I stand a chance? So let's talk about, so we're going to talk, of course, about the show, but we are also going to talk about the games because it's hard to talk about the difference between them. And I think if you are a big fan of the games and then you come into this show and you watch it, because I don't know too many people that watch the show and weren't fans of the games. I mean, that's the hook. I feel like there was a letdown when you go from the games to this show, but there is also parts of this is like how much of that is a letdown because of the game or how much of it is a letdown because of the actual show itself. And Andrew, you and I talked earlier today that you were saying that you actually even enjoyed the show, and there are parts I enjoyed. I'm not going to take that away, but what would you say was one of the strongest parts of this show?
The strongest parts of the show, I would say, to your earlier point, Matt, is if you try to compare it to, the expectations of the video games, and if you read the books, I didn't read the Halo books or anything, but it doesn't stand a chance to matching that. So I had to kind of get out of that mindset and really just enjoy it for what it was and is. And once I did that, I could really enjoy it more instead of giving it these expectations. What I could really take out of the show was just kind of, I don't know, I think we were all, as a kid, hoping for more of Halo and kind of seeing it on the big screen in a sense. And if you play more into like the newer games of like Halo Infinite, Halo 5, I mean, you start to see some of these cutscenes, and that's just in video games in general, that these cutscenes are turning into TV quality. So finally, for them getting a big budget type of show, I thought just bringing some of the epic fighting scenes more to life. And I felt like they did a really good job, almost more than I was expecting, on how graphic some of the fight scenes were, especially with the Covenant weapons and how they explode people and just how they work. Really showed.
Because the games aren't that gory. I mean, you get like the Covenant blood, which is all it just looks like Nickelodeon goop, basically. Whereas in the show, it's like, especially that opening scene where they slaughtered the whole town, that was way more intense than I thought they were going to go.
Yeah. I mean, an energy sword does not go through someone. You don't see that happen, and you just like you slash and then they fall over. Like that's so you're right. They really made it visceral. There was. I like your other point, Andrew. For a show called Halo, there's a shockingly few scenes that have Halo in it. I want to see more Halo. That to me is one of the things as like that's what this whole franchise is about, is these Halos. The whole first one was we just stumbled across this Halo, and what the heck is this thing about? And so that like the story of the first one and half of the second one was so good, and like it's hard.
That's why I feel like this show has a great. It could go down to one of those shows that you tell people you kind of have to get through the first season.
It could be
because towards the end, I mean, spoilers if you didn't watch it or not. I mean, towards the end, I feel like the actions got better and they start showing in Halo and things like that. So I feel like there's good growth for the show, and I'm excited for that. Because I really felt like it took a while. That epic fight scene in the beginning, right, really got you excited. And then I feel like it was a little bit of a letdown the next few episodes.
Yeah.
And I felt like there were some filler parts in there, but I feel like it definitely got better as the show went on. So
Yeah, the last couple episodes I thought were really good, especially when you get into the whole betrayal of Dr. Halsey and how realizing how much of a menace she really is. Yeah, whereas
yeah,
at the beginning she was kind of thought to be like the rogue one that we're going to root for.
Yeah. And that's good. Like they had some good characterization in this. It's like they had so many characters and some were good and some were just lame. And it's sad to me that Master Chief ends up being one of the lame ones because he is it's this character was very much not Master Chief. They got a character that was focused on John. And I understand why he had his helmet off for so much of it, because they were dealing with the John versus Master Chief, who am I sort of thing. And so him without the helmet, they kind of justify as that's John. But when he has the helmet and all the armor on, then he's Master Chief. And I get that point, but it didn't make for interesting concept. I feel like Mandalorian did that concept much better of like having you not like reveal your face. Like there's so many of these, like Judge Dredd is another one where it's like you just don't show the face, or you just hold very few scenes with the mask off.
I mean, that's what Halo is, right? You've never seen Master Chief's face. You've seen parts of it if you beat the game on Legendary, things like that. But I mean, you see maybe, I think in Halo 4 you see his eyes. And I mean, you see his back and the scars he has. So I mean, that was kind of cool that they brought into the show, showing that the scars that they go through for the growth. But
at the very end of at the very end of the first game, he takes his helmet off at the very end of the game. But we're at an vantage point where through the window we can't see his head.
Yes.
We see his helmet drop.
Like so he takes off his helmet. Makes sense. Kind of like in The Mandalorian, as you made a good example of. But I felt like if you're going to have a character that never reveals his face, like in the game, and I know that I don't think they wanted to be like the game per se, but at least wait a few episodes and make it like a bigger point than in the first episode.
Yeah. And they really shot their wad too with that in that first episode, because like there's this whole idea of Master Chief becoming disenfranchised with the UNSC that I don't mind that as a storyline, but for you to immediately jump into it of, oh, I don't know if I can trust them, that sort of thing, and then it was cheap because then he comes back really quickly and then he is a part of UNSC, but he still has his suspicions. I think we needed to see the suspicions grow instead. I think we needed to readjust that storytelling to have that kind of be a point towards the end, and that like he's just mounting these suspicions after suspicions, and that way Halsey, you can see a little bit of her pulling back the veil of it, and then he starts trusting her and realizing, oh, I shouldn't trust her because she has those negative, because Halsey was a good character. They did her really well. They changed enough about her to make her interesting for the show where they didn't have to do the things in the lore, but they still had the crux of who she is, of that I'm a scientist and I'll do whatever it takes.
Right. I feel like they did that really good with Halsey in the show. She was, I don't know a lot of the backstory of Halsey, but I mean, just the premise of the Spartans, you have to be a different mindset. And I feel like they really showed that in the show very well. Kind of her feelings, she doesn't really care about feelings. It's better science, better human. I mean, her end goal is good in a sense. She wants to better humanity. She knows that humanity, there's more for it and it could be better. Her means of it, though, isn't the right way.
Yeah, exactly.
And I like how we're able to kind of clue into the fact that we maybe shouldn't be on her full side with Cortana. I loved the way they incorporated Cortana in even using the same actress. Like it's the same recognizable voice from the game. That's one thing that also threw me off. Sorry to interrupt, Brian. Good. You had Master Chief's iconic voice, and then you have a different character. I get you can't use his because the guy's like 70. Yeah. But that was like the biggest letdown. Like the first time he talks, you're like, I knew it wasn't the voice actor, but
yeah, it's really
hard to take in.
It's really funny to see Pablo Schreiber play a character that is like this disenfranchised, like not disenfranchised, but he's like this grizzly Marine type. Like I enjoy pain. I will follow orders. I will do what it takes to accomplish my mission sort of guy who talks to an AI as his like only companion, really, because that was the character he played in the TV show The Tick. He has, if you ever watch the Tick show on Amazon, this actor played that same exact character, like, except for it's a comedy show. So it's like played for satire. And so him being on this show and me seeing that first, I was like, it's hard for me to take what he's doing seriously because he does the exact same thing on that show, but that show's a comedy. So it was a strange little walk over for me. But you were talking about Cortana, Brian, and I'll let you finish what you were saying.
So that's interesting, though. But yeah, with Cortana, because obviously they're making the show for the players of the game, so I think they can't completely undo Cortana and say, oh, Cortana's bad now, because Cortana through the games was his right-hand man helping him through the mission. So we knew that Cortana was going to be on his side. Yeah. So when it came down to realizing that Halsey is using Cortana to spy on Master Chief, I think we also saw where it's going, where eventually Cortana is going to have to make that decision to, again, like, who am I with? And so I knew at the end that she was going to go with Master Chief because that's her character. Mm-hmm. And that kind of was able to telegraph, okay, that was the start of, well, that and the whole kidnapping children thing was the whole thing about why we don't like Halsey. Yeah, kidnapping children. I mean, Stranger Things as well. It's not good.
I think they did a really good job because, I mean, in the show, in the games, you already pick up that there's that trust between Cortana and the Chief, Master Chief. And so seeing, the implantation of Cortana and just that, kind of hesitation to like really delve into and letting her take full control and have that partnership. And then by the end, they started having that. And he gave control back to her to do what was needed for the mission. Mm-hmm. And I think that's always been Master Chief, right? Doing whatever it takes for the mission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where I can see like the show moving forward in a really good way is now that they've built that chemistry between Cortana and Master Chief, because I mean in the games they work so perfectly together, right? So it's
But it's funny that you say that, Brian, about like, oh, we know Cortana's not going to go bad. Well, they have actually done that in 3 different games. They had a version of Cortana's bad in Halo 3, Halo 5, and then also in Halo Infinite. She's good in it, but it's like a different version of Cortana, and like he has to relive the memories of bad Cortana, and so you still have that side of it. So it's like they've done that plenty, and especially in the most 2 recent Halo games, they've had Cortana bad. So
I don't know that because I'm way more familiar with Halo 1, which she's never goes bad in Halo 1.
Well, the AI is just degrading, right? I mean, she's going rampant.
Yeah.
And so she's kind of losing her mind in a sense, and that's what the later ones are. And it's not the same really without Cortana as well. So I mean, that's kind of for like the diehard Halo video game fans. I feel like that was also a little bit of a letdown. Where in the games, Halo 5, you don't play as Master Chief very much. Cortana's not really in it, and then at least they brought the Chief back for Infinite, and a Cortana-esque type AI for most of the.
I feel like Halo without Master Chief was like The Office without Michael Scott.
But I feel like it's completely different without Cortana too. Like Halo 3, in the early missions, you're without Cortana, and then you finally get her back, and it's not the Cortana you knew. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I think that's why I didn't like Halo 3 as much as I liked like Halo 1 and 2.
That's like when Jim was at Stanford for a while.
Stop it. This isn't The Office.
It's always The Office.
I could talk for hours on The Office. So.
And that one grunt, he's like Dwight. No, one thing that I really like too with Cortana, and then we can talk about some other things, is that first of all, they had some good Easter eggs. Like she gives the one line that she has in either 1 or 2, where it's like, careful, there's 2 of us in here now, remember? Like, I'm like, I remember that. I remember from the game. You said that. You said the line. I just bit my tongue in the excitement of doing that. And then the sound design for Cortana too, of having it where like, it's almost like she's in the back of your mind as well when she's talking to Chief, and then they have different sound when she's being projected. But like when she's in the back of his mind, you hear it in the same way as like when you're playing the game and you hear Cortana. And it's like this just threw me back into the games, and I really appreciated that sound design was able to do that and feel like you feel Halo again. That's what feels like Halo is having.
And it was cool, like during some of the fight scenes, they take you into the first person with all like the graphics of the game, which is cool too.
Some of the 2 fight scenes. So let's well, we haven't finished on characters because I wanted to talk about Kwan because I felt like Kwan was a pointless character. Yes. I felt like everything about Kwan and her arc, the Soren with her, he wasn't pointless to me. Well, I mean, because he was tied to Kwan, he ended up being pointless. But his character I liked. And I would love to see more of Soren, and especially like Kwan and Soren, like their final interaction where Kwan's like, "Oh, I'll see you again someday," and he's like, "God, I hope not." Like Soren was so good, and I liked that actor, but I just felt like Kwan and Insurgents that is so removed from what you are watching a Halo show for. You're not watching it for this sort of geopolitical. The displaced person's sort of storyline. That's a fine storyline for another show. It's not a fine storyline to me for Halo.
Oh, I completely agree. I feel like kind of how they introduced it right away. Interesting, she's a lone survivor of the outpost. But beyond that, it was like, I feel like what I wanted was, and this kind of goes what I said earlier, like filler parts and what you just mentioned, pointless, right? The continued storyline. I mean, we're there for Master Chief. I feel like there needed to be fight scenes like every episode. I mean, like I said, it's not, and that's kind of comparing it to the game, right? And a game's very linear in a sense of you just go from mission to mission. But I mean, I feel like that's what Master Chief is. It's just like out there getting lost by himself and just fighting and finding a way to survive and protect humanity, right? By destroying these rings, doing what he needs to. So I feel like they really lacked, at least in the middle part of it, like the fight scenes. Like I felt like they did, like you said, Brian, I feel like the first person parts were kind of cool. I feel like the fighting scenes, they did a good job. It could have been more. I think they need to expand on it because I feel like they did those very well.
I think I know why they didn't do it, and what I have an idea of what they could have done to fix it is because the Halo games don't really work that so well for a story. It's always, you always got some kind of MacGuffin. Oh, we got to get the monitor. Now we got to get to this key, to this thing, and then the whole thing is you're in a new setting. You just got to get through the map and kill all the bad guys. That's not. I mean, that's fun for a game because there's different settings. There's different guys. You never know if you're gonna drive, you're gonna fly, if you're on foot. But for watching it, if you're not interacting with it, it's not as interesting. But what I think we could have done is bring back some of the strategy. Like they barely touched on the different kind of covenants. Like I want to see different fight scenes. Like bring the hunters in. I don't think the hunters were in there at all, and have them discover like, okay, you got to hit the orange spot on their back, because that was always the thing. You hit the orange spot on their back, that's the weak spot. And like we as the players of the game, we know all the different stuff. Like this kind of weapon works better on this thing. And like the jackals, you can't hit it with a shield because that doesn't work. You got to hit around their shield. Like bring all that into it and have each fight scene bring a different unique part of the game. Like have him, flying the banshees, have him, defeating the hunters, have him doing all of this stuff that we knew, and that could make the fight scenes more interesting than just, oh, it's a fight scene. Oh, it's a fight scene. Because a lot of times with shows, I'm not interested in a fight scene just for the sake of it being a fight scene.
Yeah, I was disappointed with the fight scenes, and I felt like that was a budget issue. And I know that they threw a lot of money at this show, so I do feel like the hands are tied to this show, sadly. So they have to find a way to do interesting fight scenes without like breaking the bank. And that's going to be hard for them because like I feel like even the Warthog, like using Warthogs cost a lot of money because they barely used them. They used like that Mad Max car that the bad guy of Madrigal drove around in more than they used the Warthogs in this show. Yeah. And I'm like, I didn't come to see your little Mad Max replica. Or that episode had both Mad Max and then I like got these like Red Dead Redemption vibes with Soren and his crew of like, we're a gang of outlaws and we are starting to not trust our leader, and he's like, you just gotta have a plan, Arthur. I got a plan. I just need more money. It felt like it was like barring out of that game. Like I'm not watching Halo anymore, am I? But I wanted to see more action, and I think because the budget's not there, that's where we're struggling.
I wonder if they could have cheated that and said like, oh, someone back at headquarters is watching the battles, but the quality is bad, and then they just insert footage from like the game.
That sounds like the worst idea. If you were in a boardroom, you would get fired right away. Like, no, we're not gonna let Brian touch.
But here's the thing: like, fans would love that.
They go play the game. There are some things like that. This might be the problem with Halo. Angie, you said that there was like a foundation, and I agree with that. There is a solid foundation here that the second season could be better. They did enough right, but there are some stories that are better told through video games. Like I love BioShock, and I'm excited for the BioShock Netflix series that's going to be coming out, but I still don't feel like BioShock is a game that's going to translate to screen as well unless you completely change the idea and you do something about like the early days of Rapture or whatever. There's some games it's like I don't see it making its way on I just said Red Dead Redemption. Red Dead Redemption 2 is so dense and the story is told so well, it would be really difficult to tell that same story or to tell another story in another setting, because a part of it you're involved in it, and being able to take ownership of the story you're in plays a huge role. And I think that's where the Halo series is always going to have a trouble.
I feel like if you think, like I said, it's hard to compare the show to the games, but almost what they could do in a sense is get Master Chief lost by himself. Like, how many times is the opening mission you do something with like your UNSC people, they die, and Chief is like just thrown into like this planet or this Halo ring right by himself.
Yeah. I mean, that's Halo 4. Halo 4, he wakes up on some spaceship. He's like, what am I doing here? And like, well, I'm going to kill Covenant while I'm here.
Right. And like Halo 1, I mean, really, that's what it is too.
Or like, missions where there's a ton of them around and they're like, oh, we're trapped. You go by yourself. We're going to wait here. Like,
right. So it's like, could they do that for a season? Because, well, I mean, who knows how they're going to play, like, bring back John after, he essentially died and let Cortana take his body. So there's the spoiler if you haven't watched the show right at the end.
See, I didn't catch that that's what they're doing with that. I mean, I remember her being like, John, is that you in there? And it just doesn't answer. But that would make sense if that is the direction that they're thinking they're going.
Another interesting part of the show is that whole set about, they set up early on that Halsey not only kidnapped the kids, but replaced them with clones that were set to die. Like, how, and that's dark. And then that set up for towards the end when you realize, oh crap, like she did that to herself and she didn't actually get caught. She let one of her clones get caught because it's getting the same seizure disorder that they had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Real quick, while we're talking about UNSC people, again, I don't mind the idea of like, oh, UNSC is bad but I still wanted to see the Master Chief that followed orders completely. I know we got him for like one episode, but I wanted to see like the hardened, like, I'm going to do anything to complete this mission. I will listen to what you say. You tell me to jump, because that is a part of his character, and I do want to see a little bit of that. And then it doesn't. I'm fine that he. Because like I like the one Spartan, the I can't remember his name, like the big black guy who was like very matter of fact, not feeling at all, just like I'm a Spartan and this is correct. Like that matter of fact sort of guy. That's a nice character.
Our mission is to kill Chief. We will kill Chief, like type of thing. Like,
he asked me, would you have killed me? Yeah, I would have killed you. Like, what?
Well, I would have killed you, but I would have felt bad about it. Like, that gives some good interaction. I like that. But going to UNSC, I didn't like how they did that. And I especially didn't like what they did with Keyes, because Keyes was a great character in the first game, great character in the Fall of Reach novel. And I just feel like making him this morally complicated character was not true to Keyes at all. And they did Keyes dirty. Keyes was like, I will go down with my ship. I will fight. I'm going to withstand Covenant torture until I'm dead. Like, he died a hero. He deserved better than what he got in this show. Now, I don't mind Miranda Keyes in this, but
you know who they need to bring for season 2? Sergeant Johnson.
Yes. I was looking for him.
Yeah.
Is that guy, would they be able to bring him in? I mean, he's probably too old, but at least bring in a new character to be him.
Probably. You just have like Danny Glover walk on for some reason. Like, aren't you like 90? Like, shut up. I'm never too old for this.
But there is some good characters from the video games that I think they need to bring in to the show.
Yeah.
Like Sergeant Johnson, because I mean he's kind of an integral part, throughout the game. So
Yeah.
bring someone like that, I think could be pretty interesting.
And we didn't get any of the flood in this. So
Yeah,
like,
I was
just
going to mention like the flood would be a very interesting addition, and maybe that's a season 2 type of battle that comes in or leading up to it. Like I don't know the plan for how many seasons they want of the show.
I see it getting one more, and that's it.
I feel like season 2 is going to be a make or break season.
Yeah.
yes.
Because if they don't get it right, I think there's enough Halo fans out there that will give it the benefit of the doubt the first season,
Mhm.
because there was glimpses of what it could be.
Yeah.
But if season 2 is like season 1, it could be one of those things that it's done after 2, or they do like a third season and it just totally tanks, and then it's just
like so writers of Halo 2, Halo writers, if you're listening, we're wise to your schemes, because what they did with this season is they would get to spots where like, okay, what do we do to move the story forward? And then someone's like, have Master Chief touch the artifact. Genius! We're gonna do that. Like every single time, like, how do we do? We'll just have him touch the artifact, and then he'll just know something, and that's how we're gonna move it forward. Like, how many times did they do this in this stupid season? Like at least 10 times. Like, just touch the artifact here, then we'll go.
Or we'll bring in a new character. What does she do? She touches the artifact.
well. So, some of the lore that I have been listening to is supposedly the humans had interacted with the Covenant, the Forerunners way back in time, and the Reclaimers, and because the Forerunner it's like the mantle of something that is supposed to be bestowed upon the race that is supposed to govern all the other races. And the Reclaimers, who created all these planets and stuff, it was meant to be for humans, but the Forerunners thought it was supposed to be for them. And so they sent the humans back. They de-evolved the humans, right, back. But when they were doing that, the librarian, who was actually a Forerunner, instilled in the DNA of the people the ability to understand Forerunner technology. And so that's why it's believed that only certain people had it, as people evolved and the genes changed. So that's why only a few people could touch the artifacts and actually interact with them, because they have those strands of DNA within. And they kind of alluded to that in the show because they had almost identical genetic makeup. These shows just add so much like unnecessary stuff in it. The love affair thing between the two people, it's like, did we really need that in Halo? No.
Master Chief is asexual. He should never have ever had sex in his life. He's a soldier. That's not what he's about.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like some shows like, we have to have some kind of love interest. It's like, well, I think Obi-Wan shows us we don't have to.
You know what the love interest is in Halo? The love between Cortana and the Chief, that they're willing to do whatever it takes to protect each other and keep each other safe.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a romantic sexual love.
Right.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was just an unneeded storyline in the show.
I don't mind that they had a connection. Right. I think that worked for, because I didn't see that coming with her, that they were going to make it like give them that sort of connection. And I get the whole foil of like the two sides of it. Like you got the demon and the blessed one. Like that's, oh, cool. That's a great little juxtaposition of these two that have the same sort of thing. But you don't need it to be romantic for them to be interesting together. Right. Or for him to trust her even.
And it took that for her to like revert back to humanity. I feel like they could have done that, like with her taking out that thing to kill him with it in her finger. It's like, you could have gotten there by just saying, hey, there's someone out here like you that you're not alone. We
Yeah.
experience the same thing. It's like that. I get the connection, like you said, Matt, but the romantic side of it wasn't needed, in my opinion, for the show. It was like a filler because they're like, hey, that's what we need in shows nowadays, right? Some like sex scene or love interest. Like, no, Master Chief, yes, he's human, but he's like, I feel like he's desensitized to all that stuff. And I get in the show they were trying to show that Master Chief has, like you said earlier, Matt, like the John aspect and Master Chief aspect of the character. And I feel like you don't see that in the game. And that goes back to the whole overarching thing, like trying to compare the show to the game.
Yeah.
But
You know what I wasn't looking to see when I came out to see Halo? I wasn't thinking, you know what? I want to see Master Chief's butt.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I got no comment. I'm right there with you, Brian.
What should we do in this show? Why don't we have Master Chief touch the artifact a million times and then show his butt? Okay, that's a great idea. High fives all around. Let's give each other promotions.
As we're talking, the thing I realized that the hard thing about Master Chief is that in the games, we're Master Chief. Like in battle, we get to decide which weapon are we going to use. Are we going to go this way? Are we going this way? Like there's so many different paths to, and that's what puts you in the game is you have to decide what is my best course of action to win. Whereas like obviously watching a show, you don't have that agency. It makes that difficult because it's like your Master Chief may be different than my Master Chief. Maybe like when I play the game, I hide in the shadows more, whereas you just go guns a-blazing, a whole thing. So different people have their own different versions of them.
At no point in this show did we see Master Chief slowly turn, look at one of the Marines next to him, and then kill him, and then have all the other Marines turn against him and then try and kill him until he died and then have to start over from the most recent checkpoint. We didn't see that at all. That never happened.
It didn't.
And we all tried it. We all did it. Silent cartographer mission throws you on a beach and you're like, oh, checkpoint here. Let's kill these guys.
No, they're important anyways. Or in the multiplayer versions, I know you mentioned it at the very top of the episode, Matt, but I always played Halo growing up with my friends Alex and Josh. And my friend Josh, he's not listening to this, but if you are, Josh, whenever he would kill somebody, he would do the same thing. He would go over and you do the squatting motion up and down. Basically, look like you're teabagging them.
Yep.
And it's like, he didn't do that to anybody.
He never did, not even once.
They should allude to that because that is where I think Halo is the reason for that, right?
Yeah,
like that's the introduction, and
Halo. They've got to find some Easter eggs from multiplayer to put in there, like to just have a 2-minute scene of him having to steal a flag, or having to plant a bomb, or like finding a skull and like hitting his Covenant with a skull in his hand.
Yes, like that would be. Yeah, something small that like in a battle scene or something, like something that would make sense.
They did the battle scene at the end of the series in that one like temple area. They did use like one of the levels from Halo 3 as the inspiration for that stage. So like looking at it, you're like, oh, it's like they're on this one map. That was really cool. That was like a really good way to allude to it. But I think there's more that they could do.
Exactly, because I feel like most of the audience is going to be people that play the game, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how many people they're going to draw in.
Yeah,
they'll have an audience of people that never played the games. Don't get me wrong; they'll be that people, just people that subscribe to Paramount Plus that are looking for a new show.
Yeah,
but I would argue to say 75+% of the people watching have played Halo in some or higher, and so to bring some of those like little Easter egg moments,
or even have like a green door where he goes in as a portal, like even that would be fun.
Oh yeah. There's so much that they could do, and it's not that we need like tons of Easter eggs, tons of fan service. We're a little spoiled in this day and age that there are plenty of shows that do give us great fan service and are like, you want this? All right, we'll make sure we say that or throw that in and stuff like that. But there is that tie, and we want to have that tie to Halo. I give the writers credit because it is a hard position to be in, having to walk the line between I want to create something new, but I also want to hold the hands of those who have loved the game and have a bridge between the two. So that's a hard line to walk. And sometimes they did it right, and a lot of times I don't think they did. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Well, we are going to move on to trivia. Anything else that you guys have for Halo, the series?
I'm trying to think if any final thoughts that we didn't touch on that I wanted to or anything like that. Yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. I feel like they have. The nice thing is they can really do anything with the show.
Yeah.
And
they shouldn't do anything, but there are a lot of avenues that they could go and going into Forerunners, going into.
I think they need to bring the flood. That aspect of it is, I think, needed. I don't know how they're going to, but the flood always show up in random spots, right? And so,
yeah.
Both Halo 2 and Halo Wars 2, like with the Banished, like having the prophets, because we did see the prophets in this, and I always liked the idea of those prophets and how they mislead the Covenant and the way that they do that. But having a little bit more of that, the religion of the Covenant. So it would be, there's a lot that they can do even within the Covenant that we didn't see. There's a lot, like you said, with the Flood or the Arbiters or the Forerunners or the whatever you fought in Halo 4, that the Sentinel things. I can't remember what that race was.
Oh, the Forerunner races. Yeah, the Forerunner. Yeah, I feel like bringing in like the Arbiter would be kind of an interesting, because I mean that'd be a playoff of Halo 2, and a little bit of Halo 3. And so, like you said, not that they have to pander to the fans of the game, but I feel like if they did, they would gain a lot of trust and love from the fans.
I know it's expensive, but it would be cool to see a Scarab.
Yeah.
And that only comes with, popularity, so they'll put more money towards it. So I mean, if they're not getting the views that they were expecting, getting those big fight scenes are going to be harder and harder.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what Halo is. If you're undertaking it, is these epic battle scenes and these epic bad guys, in a sense, that you're trying to fight. That I feel like you really didn't get very much of, like a main. I feel like the prophets were, quote, the main bad people, but there wasn't like a physical player that Chief was trying to fight. I guess there was like that one brute, in a sense, but
that was it.
Right.
So you've got your homework, Halo writers, if you're listening, because we know you are. We know we're that big and popular.
You're all listening to us, yes.
Yep. And more of the Halo theme. I mean, the one that I totally know. I had it. I knew it. I know how it goes. And there's moments in the show when they would bust that out, when he's talking to the guy in that one prison cell, and he's just like, "Oh, you're one of those," and it's like Halo, like, "Oh," and it's this theme. That's an awesome theme. Use it more. Use the Halo 2 part.
It's so iconic, right? Like, you just have to listen to a portion and you know exactly what it is, and it brings you right back to your memory of loading it up, like whenever you did, like when I was in high school and playing Halo 3, or you guys, the older, like the other Halos. It's Halo people, when they hear that, they go back to a certain memory of and that's what I think they need to do, is like draw on the nostalgia a little bit, because that's an easy thing, right, Matt? Just adding in just that music. Just at moments that make sense. You're not just like forcing it, but
absolutely, absolutely.
Agree.
All right. So last week, let's jump into trivia. Last week we talked about Nickelodeon, Nicktoons. We went back to our child. We were just going back to our childhood left and right this month. So we talked about Nicktoons. Brian, what was your question you had?
My question, we'll see if Andrew knows this, and he's a guest. What was the first Nickelodeon cartoon to get a theatrical movie?
Nickelodeon cartoon to get a movie?
Yeah.
Oh my. Can I ask when? What's the oldest Nick show? Nick, do you know what that is?
I
Just
think
so I
it's
know for point of reference how far back I can go.
well, I think it's
Oop.
the answer to the question.
The
Oh,
movie
is
came
it?
out in
Oh.
like 97 or something like
90,
that.
I think in
90.
98, like late 90s is when the movie came out.
Nick Jr. Is Rugrats Nick Jr.?
It's not Nick Jr., it's Nicktoons.
Oh, Nicktoon. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Nickelodeon cartoons.
I don't know.
Actually, you were right. It was Rugrats. The Rugrats movie came out in 98. It was the first one of them to get a theatrical movie.
I wasn't able to watch the Rugrats, so
I know.
Imagine
don't
if you
know.
would have said that with confidence, though. Oh, Rugrats.
hey, let's redo that, Matt. Let's start over.
No, no, we don't. If we don't get to retry my Halo opening song, and I look like a moron for all of this episode, we don't get to retry your trivia.
But
All right,
I mean,
Andrew.
I say the Rugrats movie led to the other Rugrats movies, the Wild Thornberry movie, Jimmy Neutron's movie, Hey Arnold's movie, the Doug's movie, SpongeBob movie. Yeah.
Guess how many of those I've seen?
All of them?
None.
Matt's a bad person.
I'm a great person. Everyone loves me. I
And
go
you-
up to people on
and
the
you do
street.
a podcast on movies.
He
I go up
does.
to people on the
What a fraud.
street.
Yeah.
I'm just like, do you love me? And they're like, get away from me. But that means because my love is so big, they want a little bit of distance. So they're saying yes.
Anyways, Andrew, I think you have trivia.
Yes. Halo trivia. The question is, on what planet did humans first encounter the Covenant?
5. Was 5 right?
Planet 5?
Planet 5.
No, that's not right.
That's weird. That's weird that that's not right.
I don't know this.
I think I do. You know what? I didn't even give my take that I think I told you in like chat, Brian, that I had a spicy take about Halo, and I didn't even give it this podcast.
What was
Before
your
we-
spicy take?
I don't actually think the lore of the Halo games is all that great. After like Halo 2, I don't know if he's gonna listen to this because I don't know if he watched the show, but one of the biggest Halo fans I know, we've had him on our show before. We're gonna have him again actually in a couple weeks. Jeff Tharp from Elijah Fire. He's a huge Halo fan. I was starting to play Halo Infinite, and I'm like, Jeff, I feel like I'm missing something that happened because I never played Halo 5. I'm like, they're making references to stuff that I don't know. So I'm like, is there something I'm missing? And he sent me like paragraph after paragraph, like 3 full messages that on Facebook Messenger that are like 2 pages long.
I feel like you needed to play like the Halo Wars.
I did play the first Halo Wars. I didn't play the second Halo Wars.
Yeah, I never played the Halo Wars, and I feel like that would help. I was told help understand Halo Infinite.
Oh,
because I'm a little lost. I'm still a little lost on how Halo Infinite all plays into.
Because Halo Wars 2 does introduce the Banished, and that's a big part of what's going on in Infinite. But I'm not like, I like the stuff with the prophets. I like the whole, oh my gosh, they found Earth sort of storyline. Like, so Halo ODST, I actually enjoyed the story well enough on that one. But like the whole, Cortana's going to get destroyed at the end of 2, and then now she's kind of corrupted. And like, there's so much about it to me that's a little forgettable because like Brian, you said, it is kind of like, okay, go from here to there, and then here to there, and here to there. And like the missions are just very MacGuffin-like. And Halo 4, I was like, I don't even really know what's happening too much, and I don't care as much. So the Halo lore for me isn't top notch, but there are things I like about it still.
I never played it, but all those games either. But here's the thing about me when I play. I don't know if it's going to be a big shocker, but unless I'm playing multiplayer or playing with somebody, most of the time I have Halo on mute. And I'm watching a movie or a show on my phone, or like back in the day, I used to have 2 TVs in my room. One was just for video games and stuff, and one was actually hooked up to like TV. So I would be watching something while I play Halo. So I'm not actually listening to the game most of the time when I play games.
I should send you guys the link. There's an hour-long YouTube video that I'm watching through, and it gives the whole backstory of Halo, and that's where I mean, there's stuff like that's already like the humans encountered the Covenant and the Forerunners way back, and then even before like the Chief, and then they got reset basically, and then they come back, and so it gives a pretty. And I feel like you get that if you maybe read the books and do all the other stuff with it, and maybe that's where the more of the lore comes from.
Yeah.
Do you guys want the answer to the?
Tell us after we stop recording.
Yes.
'Cause
All
we're still
right.
going.
Well, until next time, we want to thank our very special guest, Andrew, for popping on. It's been great, and he had some great stuff to share. And, of course, talk about Halo is always wonderful. So we're going to say goodbye because you say Halo. Hello, hello.
Oh,
All right. Well, until next time, I'm Matt.
I'm Brian.
and I'm Andrew.
And we're reminding you to stay tuned and keep watching.